for me at least. If something's chasing me, I want to have the stamina and the speed to get away from it. But if it catches me, I want to be able to beat the hell out of it.
I am an everyday athlete.
I am an everyday athlete.
I am an everyday athlete.
Good morning, everyone. This is Jarrett Basson with Mark McCain, and you are listening to Everyday Athlete, a podcast devoted to bringing you the amazing stories behind the lives of day-to-day CrossFit athletes like yourself. And today we have our guest is Steve Chapman. Welcome, Steve. How are you today?
I'm great. Thanks
Good.
for having me.
A little technical difficulty before we got started, but I think we're up and running. Hopefully, all this all works. But if not, we'll just do it again and throw it out and
Find out.
have it back. Yeah. So I know a little bit about your background and where you're from, but mainly because I lived there for a little while. We've had a couple conversations about that. But why don't you tell everybody kind of where you're from?
Well, I grew up down the road in Ludlow, Kentucky, River Rat Town. That's what the people on the hill call it.
People on the hill?
People on the hill.
Where are
The
the
Beechwood people and
I would say,
all those guys.
what is the hill per se?
The hill is Fort Wright.
Whatever. I love.
We're down in the valley.
I love living in Ludlow. Everyone hated on it, but I loved being. You were like 5 minutes from downtown.
Yeah.
And then you're in this little tiny small town.
Yeah, it was great.
I mean, there's
I
weirdos
enjoyed
there,
it.
just like there are in like Covington. I mean,
There's
equally.
probably more weirdos in Ludlow than where we're top of the hill.
How long? You guys don't live there anymore, correct?
No, we're Union now. So
Union. Yeah.
right down
Moving up the
road.
hill.
Yeah.
Moving on up.
Moving on up.
We went
There you
over
go.
the hill.
Over the hill. How long did you live there?
I lived in Ludlow. I was born and raised. I moved out of Ludlow when I was, 18 to 20. So, yeah, I lived there all my life.
So, Mark, fun fact, he knows Chef Big E.
Nice.
Yeah.
Gumby.
Yeah.
Eric
So we went.
What'd you call him?
Gumby.
Gumby.
That's what we called him in high school.
What do you call-
He looked like Gumby.
What,
yeah.
why do you call? Oh, he looks.
He even got a Gumby tattoo, I think.
Oh, that's amazing.
I'll have to ask him the time I
This
see him.
guy's. We need to get him on the podcast.
That man can cook a burger. That's all I'm saying. He can cook a burger. So when I lived in Ludlow, I lived in this little POS apartment above the laundromat, and but right down the street was a little place called Smitty's, and they had just the cheapest, biggest, and most delicious burgers you've ever had in your life. So like cheat days would come up and it'd be like, well, we're gonna go over to Smitty's, and they had what was there? It was a Smitty dog, which was like basically a deep fried hot dog that you then covered with
Fried
like
hot
mozzarella sauce and cheese, and you could put whatever you wanted on it.
Well, didn't he have an eating contest with that?
Yeah,
Didn't
it was.
He had a
you ate
monster
2 of them or
burger.
something.
It was like
fries.
there was
a burger.
There was a burger that was like a $20 burger. Then there was the Smitty Dog Challenge, which was 4 of those Smitty dogs, and each one had to have 3 toppings. And then there were fries and a large drink.
Yeah.
Like it
So
was.
what did you get for that? T-shirt or?
Who knows?
Polaroid on
I
the wall?
think a Polaroid on the wall,
Pat on the back.
pat on the back,
Yeah.
and a trip to the ER.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Heart attack.
Yeah. But we went down there. I think they got a place down in Bromley now, which was
Yeah.
even a little bit worse off than Ludlow.
That used to be an old bar, Keyhole Bar.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. And then someone else bought it. But whatever. Regardless, it was good, and man can cook
Yeah.
a mean burger.
Eric's a nice
So,
guy, man. He's a good guy.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you moved out of Ludlow, where'd you go?
When I moved out of Ludlow, I went to Seattle for a stunt workshop.
Stunt workshop.
Yeah,
So,
well, actually, I graduated college and then went out there. So
Where'd you go to college?
I went to Eastern for a year. And
So
then
you
I
stuck
went to,
around Kentucky,
yeah, I stuck around.
and then to Seattle.
Yep.
What-
Everett, Washington, which is south of Seattle.
so what was it like? You just found a stunt workshop and said, "Wow, that looks like fun."
Honestly, it was still in its infant stages when I went to it, but yeah, it was just online. Hey, stunt school. Well, that sounds cool. Let's go do that. Always wanted to do that, so go try it out. So it was like a 1.5-month workshop where you learn to do all the things that stunt people do. So fire burns, high falls, everything that you see on the movies, we did.
That is incredibly interesting. I need to know. I need to know a lot of things about this. So,
Yeah.
it's just something like, were you like jumping out of trees and stuff as a kid, and you're like, "Wow, this looks like fun."
Fall Guy, man. I was a big fan of the Fall Guy growing up.
Yeah.
So, I wanted to be like Colt and do stunts and get in adventures, and
Uh,
that was what I wanted
Yeah.
to do. But
and did you know, like, whenever you went to that school and like they caught you on fire, or whatever the first kind of big stunt was, you were like, yeah,
it's for real.
Like, because for me, I'm personally like scared of heights. I would like get up there and they're like, Mark, jump. Like, no amount of money in the world right now.
Well, there were people who were afraid of heights,
Yeah.
and they'd start you off on like a scissor lift, and you'd go up 10 feet,
There you
jump
go.
Off, and
Look at that over there.
Yeah.
Just shove them up.
no, I mean it was very professional. These people, they did it right.
So all right. What do they put on you when they set you on fire?
Believe it or not, getting set on fire is incredibly cold. So there's a Nomex suit that they soak in like a mixture of fireproof gel, and it has some aloe in it and things like that. So, and it's soaked in ice water, buckets of ice water. So when you get in there, you essentially get naked. And these two, in my case, it was two women, put you in this suit and push all the air bubbles out of it.
Yeah.
So they put it on you. It's skin tight. You wear all cotton clothing, which we just went to Goodwill and bought that stuff.
Yeah.
And then they cover you with the gel. You suit. You put your clothes on. The reason they do 100% cotton is because nothing will stick to you. It's a natural fiber, so it just burn away instead of synthetic, which would stick, and they have to peel it off. But they wipe the gel all over your face, and then there's a mixture. I believe it was diesel fuel and model glue, and he just brushed it on you. You gave the thumbs up, held your breath. They lit you up with a blowtorch, and you danced around like you were on fire. Well, you were on fire, but like it really hurt. So then, if you felt a hot spot or something, you had probably 5 or 6 people around you with different, like a water hose, fire extinguishers, anything that would put out a fire. So you just went down. As soon as you hit the ground, you were covered. So it was. I never had any hot spots. I think I was on fire for probably over a minute.
Damn.
And,
I was thinking 3 seconds.
Yeah.
All right.
Well,
I'm good.
As long as you could hold your breath and dance around and take it.
Yeah.
I mean, I went down, and when we did it at a horse farm up in the mountains at Issaquah, Washington. So once we got finished, they had a makeshift shower in the back of a trailer and just hosed you down with, again, cold water because of, there wasn't any heat. So that was it. So getting caught on fire for me, at least, was
Very cold.
really cold.
All right. What's the
What was that sensation when you're on fire? Like, is it?
Well, they kind of scare you a little bit. They tell you that because you're burning, if you take a breath, the fire will go down your throat.
Yeah,
because
sure.
it'll just go down that way,
Sure.
I guess. So, you're kind of freaked out about that, and you want to play it up for the camera. You want to look like it's you're really in pain. But
Was it for a movie or something, or just?
it was a practice burn,
Practice,
and then we
okay.
did some video stuff with it.
Okay.
For
That's
like
crazy.
you lighten up a grill and the grill explodes. So it would be like an in-house thing for Weber grills. Like, this is what not to do, and then boom, you get caught on fire by mistreatment.
if that happened to your
We need
grill,
to find
you
that
did
YouTube.
Yeah, you
Weber.
did something
Really?
really, really wrong. So outside of birds, you said like high falls. Like, what's the highest
High
you've ever
falls?
fallen from?
Maybe 80 feet on an airbag.
80 feet on an airbag.
Yeah.
So what's the technique on that? Because I've watched people. I've watched people fall off, right? And you basically do like a one tumble, and then you really land on your back, right?
Yeah, I mean, they have different types. Like, you can, if you're getting shot and you fall off a building, the bullet kills you. You're not going to be flailing around in the air when you're falling. So you just go limp and fall backwards, and that was the scariest one for me.
Sure.
Not being able to see where
You
you're
don't have
going.
any control. Yeah.
No, you're just kind of falling down. Headers weren't bad, and then when you hit the airbag, you were taught early on in the workshop to kind of spread your body, so your kind of like your big muscles take the impact. So when you fall in an airbag, and I did it one time where I kind of tacoed, where I hit with my back instead of pushing my arms and my legs out, and it kind of throws your knees on your forehead. So
Oof.
that wasn't fun.
That sounds awful.
I think the whole time we were doing high falls, it was only maybe one person got injured, and that was his shoulder. He landed on his shoulder funny on the airbag. But I think that was pre-existing.
Yeah, I want to say it was a pretty famous show. A stuntman just passed away doing a stunt for, I don't know if it was The Walking Dead or
Yeah. I think it was The
Walking Dead
and Deadpool.
Yes.
The
Yeah,
movie.
maybe it was. I don't. Either way, yeah, one of those. So obviously it's super high risk.
Yeah, but
so.
the people behind the scene, the stuff you don't see are the people behind the scenes who make sure everything goes according to
Yeah,
plan.
those
It's very
coordinators.
calculated. I mean, it's not like you just get out there, hey, let's do this.
Yeah,
like the
yeah.
Those
Jackass show.
coordinators are pretty intense. We read that the Rise of Superman, just about the flow state, and they talked about the Transformers movie, and basically the squirrel suits they put on those guys, and they had to fly. No one had really ever done an urban wingsuit flight, and just how they had to coordinate.
And they had to do a turn that was gonna basically put them in a certain amount of G-force, through buildings, basically, or in between buildings for the movie. And they trained to the point where the one guy said, I knew, so if you think of like a diamond kind of shape, that's kind of how they flew. He's like, I knew if the man in front of me's foot moved an inch, that was the cue to like turn. They became, because again, the whole book is kind of about flow state, and they're such in the moment, and how it heightens your senses to the point where you it's almost like a Matrix kind of thing, and everything is slower. So in that moment, but it's a really interesting book and
I'm
concept.
sure you probably felt some of those too. Mainly whenever you feel like when time slows down, and you feel like you can see everything a little bit clearer. That's basically what that flow
Spider
state is.
sense.
Yeah,
Spidey
that's
sense.
exactly what it is. So, have we seen you in anything?
Probably not.
No?
I pursued it.
Can I find stuff online?
Wholeheartedly. Probably not, because this was pre-internet. Well, I guess internet was around 2000. When I do that, 2002, 2003. So you might be able to.
So what kind of stuff?
I was in a demo reel.
Yeah.
I was falling off a horse.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was probably my favorite.
I'm
part
gonna
of
do
it.
some internet digging.
Dig around and see what you can find.
See what we can find. We've had a couple people. Leslie was in that Wendy's commercial.
Oh, that was amazing.
We can probably find that. I've got a pic. Lavetta came up on one where she was in a commercial or a print ad for something, the same kind of thing. So I might have to
Dig
we'll
around. The thing, well, I don't know if it's out there. I went on auditions, but I never got anything major. But there might be some Anglo-Saxon bar fights scenes you might be able to find. Because
did you used to get like punched in the face and stuff?
No,
No.
you miss.
All right,
You
so
don't hit people.
How does that work? How does that? I have lots of questions now.
Yeah.
I mean, we had
If I
some
were to
close
look
calls.
like I just beat the crap out of Mark, how does that go down?
It's all about where that camera is.
Yeah.
Like, that's camera positions.
So it's
everything.
really you're like how far away when you're swinging at somebody? How
you're
far away?
A foot or two.
Really?
I mean, you're not even close.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It like I said, if the camera's here, you have to know the camera's there, so you would swing this way, and Mark would have to play it. So it.
Yeah.
We were talking about you guys were talking about wrestling a little bit ago when Brock Lesnar hauled off and forgot he was not in the UFC and hit that guy.
Yeah.
That's
We had some close calls. I bloodied a guy's nose when we were doing a show for, what was it, University of Washington. It was like just a demo show what we've learned and everything. And guy was kind of slamming me against a piano, and I kind of threw my elbow back and caught him in the nose and bloodied his nose. And I didn't even know I did it till we were finished. I'm like, hey, there's some blood on my arm. He's like, oh yeah, Rocky's
thanks
over
a
there.
lot.
His nose. He's like, man, you go.
thanks a lot, buddy. So how long did that kind of go on for? So you said you pursued it for a little while?
Yeah, maybe roughly a year. I mean, I got into it, and it wasn't exactly what I thought it was. Like, I wasn't willing to put in the hustling time. I didn't want to schlep coffee for coordinators all the time. And I did have, I think that out of my little class out there was maybe 2 people who really got into it and made it. I mean, and there was a lot of things at the time that I didn't think about that probably didn't even exist. But one of the guys that I went there with, he was my roommate. He does a lot of stunt work for video games. Like they put him in the suit, and then he'll do. I know he's done a few Star Wars video games. So
Cool.
There's definitely a million different ways to make a buck. That's for sure. That's stuff you don't even think about.
I never thought that was even possible at the time. I mean,
So you tried for about a year, and then what happened?
Tried for about
there?
a year, and then traveled around out west for a while. Did the whole L.A. Vegas thing, and just tried to get some jobs. And came back and went down to Florida for a bit, and came back here. And then a guy I knew I used to rock climb with all the time was moving out to Utah, Salt Lake City, go to University of Utah. And he's like, you want to go? And on a whim, I'm like, yeah. let's go. So we rented a U-Haul.
So
went
far, I'm
out there.
jealous of Steve's life.
It's been a ride, man. But so I went out there and I stayed in Salt Lake for about a year, and I think the thing that put that made me really leave there, I broke my arm snowboarding, and then my mom wanted me to come home just to visit. I'm like, well, I don't have the money for a plane ticket. And she said, oh, I'll buy you a plane ticket. When I got home, I found out my sister was pregnant, and just the whole family thing brought me back here.
Sure.
And,
I think that's, I don't think that's terribly uncommon to where you kind of see that, like, I need to go do something for me. And then, you do, if you have some family ties, I think that brings it back around. And
my whole 20s were, I didn't even think about starting a family at all.
Yeah.
I mean, my whole 20s were my 20s. I toured around the nation and did everything I wanted to do. Not that I'm not doing what I want to do now, but everything that I thought would be really cool, I pretty much did.
Yeah, there you go. I think that's the way to do it.
What was your favorite place? If you had a rank or just pick one or
it all depended on the time that I was there. I didn't like Los Angeles.
How much does LA suck? I'm sorry.
The weather's good.
The weather's good.
Yeah.
Like, there's just weird people everywhere. You talk about, like, hillbillies and stuff like that here. Like,
they thought I was from Australia or something. I mean, when I was in Utah, the lady's like, "Where are you from?" Like, Kentucky, and she goes, "Oh, you sound like you're from Australia."
Where do you want me to be from?
Yeah.
That's the question.
I was working at a shoe store out there because I got into running big in Utah, and that was weird. Like, wow, Australia, Kentucky.
Yeah,
it really doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a.
Do I have an accent? Like,
I don't think so.
I have no idea.
So, rock climbing. How long did you get into rock? I have a friend, a buddy of mine I used to play soccer with that basically just kind of has shifted himself into just a professional rock climber. He came out with a book, but it's funny because the gorge is 3 hours away, and it's world-class rock climbing.
Yeah, that's where I spent most of my time in college and right out of college.
People don't realize how
it's huge.
How lucky we are to have a very natural wonder down there.
I climb with people at Red River Gorge from Tokyo, from Sweden. They come to Kentucky to rock climb, which is really cool. I mean, you wouldn't think that, but they do.
Little old Slade, Kentucky.
Slade, man.
I'm actually going there on Friday.
Are you?
Yeah, going there on Friday.
Hit some Miguel's, man. You ever been there?
Yeah. Yep. It's been a while since I've been down the gorge. I'm excited.
We used to live down there. I mean, my buddy Nick Summy and I used to go down there every weekend. We spent 2 weeks at the gorge living in tents once, and then we went to West Virginia to New River Gorge and spent a week there in a tent. So it was cool. Yeah, it was fun.
What's a day like consist of whenever you're rock climbing? Is it because I mean for me, like I have zero experience with climbing and stuff like that. It to an outsider it kind of seems intense as far as climbing a mountain.
Yeah,
and that's literally what you're kind of doing in certain situations. Is it one of those things where obviously, like anything, we're obviously at a CrossFit gym. You have your fundamental kind of things. You start on that kind of hill, cliff, whatever you want to deem it, and then you obviously work your way up. What's that progression kind of look like, and what's a day look like as far as the level you got to? Like, is it climbing just like all day, or is it like I climb for an hour and then I gotta,
it's all day.
All day.
I mean,
okay.
So I got into rock climbing because I went rappelling once, and then that was really cool. So I got really good at going down the rock.
Yeah.
So then it was like, well, now it's time to go back up. So I went to the library and got books, learned how to tie a bunch of knots, and then just winged it.
Okay.
Like the first time I fell on a climb, I think we were sport climbing, and there's bolts that they pre-drill into the rock. You hang quick draws on and you snap your rope in as you go up. Well, I had missed a couple bolts, and I had probably
on purpose.
No, just because I was my forearms hurt so bad. I just wanted to get to the top, and then the guy belaying me was like, "Hey, man, you whiffed 2 bolts there." And I looked down, and I had about 25 feet of slack in the rope. So when I fell, and then I got nervous. I started getting the sewing machine leg is what they call it. My legs started shaking. Fell off and probably took about a 60-foot fall.
Good thing you went to stuntman school.
Yeah, I mean, if I would have hit the ground, it would have been all right.
Yeah.
No, but I fell, and I ended up even with him. Like, we were looking eye to eye. Like, hey, man, I was all the way up there, and now I'm all the way down here. So that got me going. I was so I remember just being like amazed by that because you know it was awesome. Even though I mean I was scared shitless, but everything was good. So from that point on, so a typical day in the life of a rock climber would be you wake up, unzip your tent, get something to eat, go to the crag, climb until dark, go back to Miguel. If you're at the gorge, go back to Miguel's, get a pizza, eat, have some beers, go to bed, wake up, do it all over again.
Okay, yeah, that's intense.
Yeah.
And you got in really good shape rock climbing.
Well,
Sure,
I was
yeah.
gonna say that I think that the through line for all of these things that Steve has done so far is they've all been physically demanding.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's been, you know, and I think it's a testament to you basically coming in here and being really fit already. Like Steve's just one of those guys. If you've never really watched him work out, it's like one of those things. Like, how do you do a muscle up? Is it like this? And then he does a muscle up. You know,
that translated in the climb. You know,
100%.
When you mantle out of a climb, that's how you did it. You
That's
pulled your body
100%.
up just like that.
You know, so I think it's pretty cool to kind of see this transition, and you never really, you've just been doing stuff. It's never like I do rock climbing because I want to get fit. I do rock climbing because I really enjoy it.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
probably
it's
same
never
with
been about- I
probably
never
same with
thought about that.
snowboarding and running. Like it's not like you were doing running. You were running long distances for a fitness regimen. It just seems like you really enjoyed running.
Then you get something in your mind and like, you know what, I'm going to run a marathon. What's that consist of? Go to it used to be go to the library, get a book. Now it's just Google how to run a marathon.
And,
So I did that, and then
You qualified, right, for Boston Marathon?
yeah, I did Boston in 2007, and my goal was to do a sub-3, and I did 2:55 in a
sweet.
nor'easter storm.
Wow.
So I think I would have done a little better had I not had a 30-mile-an-hour headwind the whole time.
Does that make a difference?
Oh, yeah. Just a bit.
Just someone going.
Yeah.
Well, and the thing was, that's where I proposed to my wife at the finish line.
Oh,
So when
wow.
I crossed the finish line, that's where we decided to get married.
That's
Yeah.
gangster.
Did you have the ring with you the whole
No,
time?
that was it. No, a
I
buddy of
say,
mine
what do
had
you?
it. Yeah, I kept no. Buddy of mine had it, so when I crossed, I had to figure out where they were.
Yeah.
And the thing was, is she told me that I told her I'd be there in 2 hours and 50 minutes. So 2 hours and 50 minutes, she kind of started freaking out a little bit.
Yeah.
So she left the group, and they're all like, "No,
You
you can't leave." She's like, "Why is everybody freaking out?" So, and that's online too somewhere. There was a news because I contacted.
Oh, we gotta find all
somebody.
these videos of Steve.
Yeah.
He's internet famous somewhere.
There was a. I never really thought about it that way, but yeah, there was I contacted somebody at some local station in Boston and told them what I was going to do, and she was going to cover it. Well, the storm came in, and that took precedent over everything. So it was, she ditched that. But in New Hampshire, I think the news company was in New Hampshire who had a
Picked it
cameraman
up.
there, and they picked it up. Yeah.
Hey.
So it's out there somewhere, along with all those white Anglo-Saxon bar fights and all that other stunt stuff, which I don't even know.
Fake.
Fake.
Yeah, there's a fake.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
bar fight.
So where did CrossFit kind of come into the mix for you? So I mean, like I said, so you broke your arm snowboarding.
Yeah.
How did that
in
happen?
Salt Lake City. I was jumping and just landed wrong and came down on it.
I was watching the Winter X Games that are going on, or they were going on this past weekend, and it's unreal to watch.
No, I wasn't doing anything
There's-
near that level, but
There's a kid. I'm not like
No one is.
I'm not.
Yeah,
I'm not.
exactly.
I'm not
Shaun
joking
White.
when I say kid. Like this kid was like 15 or 16, and they were doing 1440s. So I don't know how many rotations that is, but I mean,
14,
they're basically
no
thinking
idea.
about hitting
That's like four
four full rotations upside down, flipping.
4.5, or something like that.
It's unbelievable. And then just
that's
they're like, oh, he made that. Like,
Yeah.
how is that not amazing? Like, that's just every day now.
You have to know exactly where you are in the air at every moment. Because, I mean, if you don't have good air sense, you're not going to be a good
If you spun me
jumper.
around 4 times right now, I'd be dizzy.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Let alone be able to size up another ramp.
Yeah,
When
let alone
flying
land it.
downhill.
Yeah. So everything you've done has been just physically demanding, not in the sense that you're trying to do it to stay fit. It just seems like it's something you enjoy. So when we talk about CrossFit, is it something, because for a lot of people this is a fitness regimen,
Yeah.
you know, and it becomes a lifestyle. But like, is it more like you're just doing this now because you know you have your full-time job, you have a family, and then this is kind of an outlet, or is it like this is just something that I really enjoy doing and I like furthering myself? Or you give a combination of both.
Yeah, it's both. I mean, I was working out. I've always worked out and stayed in good shape, but
Steve's pretty jacked, by the way. He's pretty ripped. You've never seen him without his shirt off. I'm just saying. I'll throw you a
Actually,
bone.
let's take a break, guys.
Yeah.
should we
Get rest of the interview with Steve Shirt.
Yeah.
Now, CrossFit for me is it's a little bit of both. I mean, I do it because it's high intense and it's very intense, and plus, like I always stayed in good shape. But I was old school working out, 3 sets of 10. Increase the weight, do the pyramid thing. Let's do arms today. Let's do back tomorrow. Let's do chest.
Yeah.
And that just it got boring, man. So I started. This was maybe about a year before I came here. I was at a competitor, I guess you could say, a big box gym.
Don't you?
And
There's people. There was others before me.
they exist. So I was just kind of going through the whole old school way of working out, and came across some videos of some guys doing some pretty cool stuff, and I would work out, and then I would run on a treadmill, and then I would I did 100 pull-ups, 100 dips, and 100 push-ups. Just try to do it as fast as I could. And then I saw my first experience with CrossFit. Christmas Abbott, she did some photo spread for a magazine, and I'm like, man, she's
decent looking.
Yeah. And so that's when I did a search, and you guys came up, and quite a few gyms came up. So decided to come down here and see what was going on. And you guys came in on a Saturday, and just kind of see what was going on. You're like, hey, we're getting ready to work out. Do you want to join in?
Oh, yeah.
Man, I just kind of stopped in. I'm wearing boots. So yeah,
You were our Duke man. You walked in and you're like, this place looks kind of cool.
Yeah. Like, what are you guys doing in here? Like, man, we've got a vending machine that they left with a bunch of snacks in it.
yeah.
It was like,
You can
turned the
have as
power
much
on.
of that as you want.
Yeah.
I remember that.
We're a fitness place. Take as much out of that vending machine as you want.
Yeah, there was 2 vending machines out front. I remember that.
Oh, you guys, the place was a wreck when I came
Oh,
in
my
here.
goodness.
Oh
Yeah.
God! So you were, it was like right when we were moving everything around.
It
huh?
was maybe in a June or
Yeah,
something.
July. Yeah.
Have we
June,
painted the
right?
walls yet?
No.
No, yeah, it was
the
empty.
lobby still had a
I think
bunch
you
of
literally
stuff
turned their power on. Or
in it. Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I turned the power
Yeah.
on.
I remember that.
Because I left my flashlight here, and I had to come back.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it was
they're-
fate. It was
It
fate.
was.
Like, I hope they
was.
are still here. I didn't know what
That's
you
a
guys
really
were
nice-
doing, though, because we didn't talk about it. And you guys look really fit, I remember. And I'm like,
Thanks,
man, those
Steve.
guys.
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah, man.
Thanks.
Throw it out there.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So, yeah, I remember just coming in and thinking, like, I wonder what they're doing. And then just
That whole week was fueled 100% by caffeine.
Yeah.
I don't remember, like, when people say stuff like that, I'm like, oh yeah, I completely forgot that.
That was a blur. Yeah, that was a rough week. A lot of
I remember pulling up that board back there. and
Oh,
just
yeah.
Pulled it up, and there's just water at the top of it. And
But it's one of those things, like, whatever analogy you want to throw out there, I think that's a good one. Sometimes we look at this place and we're like, oh man, we still got a lot of work to do. But then it puts into perspective when stuff like that comes up. And it's so many times with people's CrossFit journey. Like, obviously, we just laid a foundation of your background. Whenever you found CrossFit, you walk in, it's like, oh, is this how you do a muscle up? So many people see that, and they're like, well, why can't I do that? And it's like, well, what's your,
It was
upbringing, and you've maybe been on the couch for the last 5 years, so
Yeah.
maybe we're just trying to get you to do a push-up first. So it's that constant, like, low fruit of that comparison. I know we talked about it once or twice on this show, and it's an easy one to fall for.
Oh, yeah.
So where other people's have higher ceilings or whatever it is, different objectives and goals.
Well, different backgrounds,
Yeah.
different genetic makeup.
Yeah.
Like, no denying that Steve works his butt off, but I think he also has pretty good genetics too. Like,
Yeah.
I watched your son in here doing
Yeah.
doing burpees better than most people, like most adults.
He was going through it.
Like,
He really liked it.
Like, you guys were like, he's
So
just
you like burpees? What's wrong with you?
but there's something to be said when you have good body awareness, and when a coach says put your hands here and then move your hips here, and you know what we're saying and you know how to move your body in a certain way, it makes things a little bit easier. That's not to say that you can't learn to be really good at a sport or really good at CrossFit, or just get really strong, but you may just have to take a different route.
Yeah, I mean, if you, like Mark was saying, the foundation was already there. I mean, it's not like I came off a couch.
Right.
I've always been active.
Sure.
So, it was there.
Apparently
just
jumping
needed-
off buildings.
Yeah, that'll keep you.
I'm gonna find this. I promise. I'm definitely gonna find
Good
it.
luck.
Yeah.
I know there was a demo reel that's out. That was.
What
out
was the
there,
company
but
called? Do you know?
Stuntschool.com.
Stuntschool.com.
You can do it.
I'll make some calls.
You can do it.
You know
Go
what's
for
funny?
it.
You know what's funny is I used to not be afraid of heights, and when we moved in, Laura and I moved in there to the house, and we had to repaint the hallway. It was just one of those where there's a ladder, like cockeyed, like on, like it's something like off of. You're like, it's like you're watching a fail video. You're like just waiting for something to happen, and it's like for whatever reason, like ever since then, it's just like I get to the top of the ladder and I'm like, I'm gonna die.
Well, somebody was taking you ever seen those pictures of how to be safe, and they'll show a guy with his car jacked up with a 2x4 and he's under it changing a muffler or something. I mean,
just wrenching
I've
on
hit
it, the whole car's shaking.
Exactly, and he's just laying there like nothing's going on.
Yeah,
I've seen that one.
Yeah.
So when we look at your kind of path as far as training goes, so you said like with running, you had a goal of like, I'm going to run a marathon, you know, do you have one with CrossFit, or like I said, is this just something that right now you're just kind of enjoying, you know? It doesn't sound like you were like training for the X Games snowboarding. It was something you enjoyed doing.
I mean, I really enjoy doing this. CrossFit's been great, man. Keeps you in stellar shape. I just want to continue to learn more and see how far I can push myself without injuring myself, you know?
Yeah.
Like there's some things that like with some Olympic lifts, like especially the snatch, I don't really go too heavy on that because, if prior
we're
shoulder
having
work.
barbell fundamentals in 2 weeks there,
Oh,
Steve.
yeah,
Yeah, you got
I
the
heard
side,
that.
you got the me syndrome, the tight shoulders. So
Yeah,
it's-
yeah,
again,
there,
like you
yeah.
said, whenever you listed out your workout there, like I did 100 push-ups and 100 dips. It's like a lot of that. It's going to pull you forward and so on and so forth. And you are a built individual. So naturally, for obviously males, with our anatomy in the front, it's going to really build up your chest, which is ultimately going to pull those shoulders a little bit more forward. And that's counterintuitive. I used to be a big bench and dip guy myself. I was doing kind of the same thing you were probably doing and looking up bodybuilder workouts and all this stuff in college. And then you get bored with it. It's very common, and you get bored. Maybe you're getting some aesthetic results, but all of a sudden I just had to climb 3 flights of stairs and I'm out of breath.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, what am I doing here?
Like my goal was never to get big. It was just to stay in shape, and I
Exactly.
found myself getting bigger.
Well, and you also that's just what you've been told that's how you get in shape. You know.
Well, you mentioned 100 push-ups and 100 dips. I mean, until I started coming here, I didn't realize that I was doing push-ups completely wrong. My shoulders were way out,
Right.
and
If I do
everything.
like this.
Yeah, I would go get those perfect push-up little apparatus
yeah.
put on the ground and twist. I'm like, wow, that really hurt.
Yeah.
But I keep doing it because that's what the video says to do.
Yeah.
I just didn't know any better.
Ow.
Exactly.
I think you can relate that to any, profession. I just had a guy come out and work on heat pump at my house, and we were just talking a little bit about it. And it's just like, obviously I've never studied, HVAC and heat pumps and furnaces and stuff like that. And dude never studied fitness before, but he, was mentioning like, yeah, I got to go get an MRI done on my knee and so on and so forth. And it's just, you think about, I was just watching him change out was the defrost sensor. So anyway, he's got a tool bag there. He's working on this unit, and within probably a 15 minutes span, I saw him like do egregious like rounding of the back like 20 different times. If you repeat that like over and over and over again throughout the day, there's no reason. He's like, yeah, I got an MRI. I got lower back pain. This he was probably 27 years old.
Yeah.
Then like if you look at him like, oh, this guy's in shape. But he's got all these issues because he's never been like shown properly, like
How to stand,
yeah,
how to pick something off the floor.
Exactly,
how
like
to squat.
how to keep a neutral spine is where you would generally want to start with people. And what CrossFit is carving, like Jarrett said, you didn't know what you didn't know back in 2000. Because CrossFit wasn't mainstream yet, and you didn't know that climbing is actually probably one of the most functional things you can do, and it's building up the forearms and the grip and how that translates into other things. and how it can definitely supplement your fitness. Or obviously running is a supplement of fitness, or snowboarding, or having fun with your fitness is super duper important, because that's ultimately what's going to keep it coming back. Because there's so many people that dread the gym the same way they dread the dentist, because they have a preconceived notion with what the gym is, or what the dentist is, or what the chiropractor, fill in the blank. But if you can make it fun and engaging, and I think we found a recipe with that just through a community, through little things like doing a question of the day. It's like, hey, do you like Reese cups or Snickers or whatever it is?
The toilet paper.
Yeah, the toilet paper. Yeah, over or under.
Did anyone actually say under?
I
Outside
don't think
anyone,
so.
anyone that doesn't have a cat.
Not at 5:30. Yeah, a cat.
Cat's the
Yeah.
only reason you'd go under.
I'm allergic to cats. Side note. If you got cats, put them away.
Well, kind of what you were talking
Yeah,
about
go
earlier,
ahead.
Mark, just going back on that, I've noticed there's things that I do out in the field. I'll bend down to pick up a box, and I'll try to get my squat perfect.
Yep, shoulders
when
back.
I do it, shoulders back, neutral spin, like you said.
Yeah.
And then I noticed something that I started doing when I was learning how to hook grip. When I drive, I hook grip the steering wheel now.
Oh yeah, there it
just
is.
to kind of.
That's our next T-shirt.
Or when I was riding a buddy of mine, it got a motorcycle. I got on and hook gripped the throttle.
There you go.
Like,
It's like,
I'm
Keith-
it's just practice, and
Yeah.
then it
Yeah.
becomes a habit.
Steve, why do you have chalk in your cup holder in your car? Well, never know when that wheel's gonna.
Oh, it's incredible how CrossFit can it can kind of take over in a sense, because you get so into it, which I'm completely into it now, and it just translates into everything I do.
Well, I know you're also like, you're super humble, by the way, and I mean that. You're like a scratch golfer as well.
Oh, yeah.
And all these things we found out through like all the people at the gym. They're like, hey, Steve qualified for the Boston Marathon. Oh yeah, Steve's like a scratch golfer.
I don't spray a lot.
Yeah, no, and that's hey, look, man, that's a place to operate from.
Well, it's the thing. Like I do
Gratitude
those
and
things-
humility.
Yeah, I do them for myself. I don't do them for recognition. It's
But
just,
my
never
the
has
reason I
been
brought
about
up
that.
golf. Sorry to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
How is maybe a little bit more fitness? Has it affected your golf game in a positive way, or maybe you haven't noticed? I don't, because
No,
you're already
it
yeah.
definitely has. Like we go on a golf trip every year on Father's Day, from a bunch of people from Ludlow, and I think one year we had over 100, and it's usually averages about 70 or 80.
So all of Ludlow.
Pretty much. Yeah, everybody around.
All Ludlow.
My graduating class had 48
Is the whole
people.
town of
in
Ludlow
it.
on a Facebook message?
They are. For this golf trip, they
Oh,
are.
there you go.
And, so it's pretty big time. But I noticed before I started doing this, we'd play probably 54 holes a day. So, and it's for 3 or 4 days. And this past year, I had no problem. Like I usually wake up on Sunday and I had trouble moving, like my hands hurt, everything just hurt. And the drinking could probably have a little bit to do with that. But this year I
Water,
had no
of
problems
course,
at all.
yeah.
And I noticed that I'm hitting the drives further. My stamina's better as far as golf goes. And I
Yeah,
mean,
people overlook that with golf. I mean,
Yeah, they do.
especially if you're playing 18 and it's hot. It's
wears you out.
Yeah,
And,
because it's a
you're-
lot of mental focus too.
You have to get that squat right when you
Yeah.
get the ball out of the hole too. Or
Yeah, so
function.
one of the reasons I brought that up is I think a lot of people look at golf as like this leisure sport where they look at John Daly like, well, John Daly, it's like, dude, he is the exception to the rule. Like he is the anomaly. If you look at a lot of these good like young golfers these days, they are in shape and they have a strict, nutrition plan and diet and so on and so forth. But I think we do that with a lot of other things too. Like, oh, well, this guy, he's rich, so, and he doesn't work that hard. Tim Ferriss wrote the 4-Hour Work Week. Like, it's possible to just slack off and make a bunch of money. And they're on to this, they're very flighty with like this pyramid scheme or this, and they're always, just trying to look for the easy way out. But they don't want to admit that 99.9% of successful people work their freaking butt off. And guess what? If you want to get in good shape, you got to work your freaking butt off.
Yeah.
Like, it's not just going to be taking a pill or so on and so forth. It's not just a coincidence that Steve walked in here and could do a muscle up. He was working his butt off before he even came to us. And guess what? He's a humble guy. And I love what you said there. Like, hey, I've identified that the snatch is a movement for me that I probably have to go a little bit lighter on for longevity with this program. And there's so many people that, unfortunately, I'll throw myself in there. I found out the hard way. I was a really strong individual when I found CrossFit, but I was not mobile. And it actually was, a detriment because I would just power everything up, and I was loading improperly, and guess what? It caused a little bit of an issue. But now that we're 5 years removed from that, I have a good self-awareness of what I can and cannot do in the gym. And sometimes you got to swallow your pride a little bit and not RX a workout. But at the end of the day, if you can keep things in perspective, it's going to only pay dividends in the long run.
Well, and it comes down, and the other part of that too is we're talking about the long game. Like that's deadlifts for me.
Sure.
Do I have to do heavy deadlifts in a workout to be fit? Absolutely not. Mm-mm. Do I have to do heavy deadlifts to be super competitive in CrossFit? Absolutely. To be fit? No. It's just all about where you're at. Steve's always gonna be a very fit guy. He can absolutely 100% work on, improving the snatch and things like that. But he doesn't have to spend an inordinate amount of time just on that one movement to be fit.
Yeah, probably not.
No,
definitely.
So there's always about having, you can always want to work on self-improvement, but the reality is you don't have to have this like 100% maxed out effort every single day on every single movement. You can pick and choose your battles.
Yeah. I mean, the other day when we did the 225 squats and then the 500 meters, I didn't feel the need to go very heavy on that. Yeah. So I went with a weight that was kind of in the middle. And
guess what? You probably got a good workout.
I got a great workout.
I
was sweating. So yeah, it was great.
Exactly. I do want to ask, like, how is this transferred? Because again, you're very humble, and I've watched, you come in here with your son and work out, and like, how is this transferred over into kind of family life? Because if it's something that you're interested in, it's probably going to bleed into your everyday life.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I mean, with Boston, when he came with me, he loved it. I mean, so with the exception of last Saturday where he kind of stood me up, he wants to come every Saturday. And he wants to get into it. And, with now, I mean, with me growing up, there was always like baseball, football. I never played football, but baseball, football, the big three, basketball, baseball, and football. And now, I mean, CrossFit is a sport in itself. You have snowboarding, you have BMX. There's all kinds of things out there that kids can do.
Different avenues.
And I mean, if he likes this, stick with this. I mean, this has weightlifting, gymnastics. It has everything.
Oh, and that just creates a base again for other things. You know, it's one of those things where I got roped into running a leg of the flying pig relay or whatever. Like, I probably don't have to train for it that much because I have a base of fitness that is established that I'll be able to manage myself. It's one of those things that, like, if you do this, it can set you up for other things pretty well.
Definitely.
And probably without CrossFit, that would be like pretty scary. Like,
yeah,
hey man, you're gonna run a leg in the flying pig. Like, oh shit.
Yeah, let me put it this way: I got the better end of the deal because the other end of that is he's got to come in here and work out. It's like I'll do that all day.
Yeah, definitely.
Like that's fun for me.
There's no fitness pill you can take.
And
it takes a lot of hard work.
And stuff like that is just to test yourself, to actually test your fitness. I think so many people get roped up into doing just this, that you're not actually going out and doing what it was built for, which is going out and enjoying yourself and enjoying fitness.
Yeah, being functional.
For example, like we're gonna go hiking this weekend. It's gonna be cold, but like if I'm out somewhere in nature, like I'm gonna want to go hike and
experience
it and be able to do it. Like
look at it through a window and then like glance at your phone and look at the window and it's definitely CrossFit has been a great mission for getting kids specifically involved more. And you're even seeing it flourish in USA weightlifting. It's something that Jarrett's really involved with, and Derek here. And again, we talked about genetic potential earlier, and you're seeing America now all of a sudden kind of rise a little bit and just mainly because, like you mentioned, the big three were always basketball, football, baseball. You throw in soccer. These other sports that pull a lot of our talent. Weightlifting was like not even on anyone's radar, and now CrossFit is kind of filled that pool up a little bit more, and now you're seeing people that are just they're more athletic, just have a higher potential, and they're reaching that through development of these lifts.
And the thing is they would be probably pretty good at just about any sport they played.
You look at Harrison.
You look at Harrison Morris. I mean, that kid's 17 years old.
He just cleaned 200.
Is it?
He clean and jerked 190 for a double. So that's 190 kilos, by the way. And the kid weighs, I think he was 81 kilos at the time. So
He just PR'd his clean at 200, which is 440.
yeah,
See
440.
the one? Didn't the 17-year-old snatch like 290 pounds?
That'd be like
something?
his warm up.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I just remember
the
hearing
crazy
about
thing.
that. And
That's the crazy thing, is to think that much weight. And so what it is there you're finding these niche athletes, and you're allowing them to flourish because of the sport of CrossFit. To be completely honest, I don't think by any means we would be where we are with USA weightlifting without CrossFit. Because you find like, oh wow, I really enjoy doing that. Oh, there's a sport that just does that. Like,
Right.
it's pretty awesome.
it's
you know?
great.
I do want to kind of ask you a little wrap up question, and that's well, Steve admitted.
You're gonna do great, Steve.
Steve admitted that he's only watched the beginning of all these, so he doesn't know what the
Usually
question
something
is.
happens,
That's
and then
all
I
right.
try to
They're-
pick up where I left off.
they're
and it
like an
just
hour
brings me
long,
back to the
so-
beginning,
Name the 17th president.
guy after Lincoln.
Yes, that is it. I think that's
Grant.
what everyone would answer. The guy after Lincoln.
The simple yet very involved question of, what is your definition of fitness?
Definition of fitness. I'd say
Don't screw this up.
I'm on the spot, man. To function, I mean, to be able to move and do what you need to do every day without pain and without anything limiting what you do. So, if I work in construction, being able to pick up a 2x4 correctly, and not injure myself, have a rounded back like the air conditioning guy or the heat pump guy. And it's another, just kind of a humorous definition would be, for me at least, if something's chasing me, I want to have the stamina and the speed to get away from it. But if it catches me, I want to be able to beat the hell out of it. Have the power and the strength to beat the hell out of it. So
That's the best answer we've ever
that's-
gotten.
I love that.
that's
That's
my
probably the best
definition
answer.
of fitness right there.
All right.
That might be our second T-shirt. The first one is
That'll be
the
our
hook
motto.
grip on the steering wheel, and then that one.
We're gonna make a commercial. It's just gonna be that. The power to beat the crap out of whatever catches you.
That's
And the strength or the speed and the stamina
To get away with it.
from it.
Oh,
But
I
if
like
it
it.
catches me, I want to be able to take care of
Right.
myself. So
yeah,
No,
man.
That's,
Love that.
That's great. Well, thank you, Steve, for,
no
for-
problem.
Yeah,
for
thanks.
coming and joining us today. And thank you all for listening to Everyday Athlete. Join us next week as we dive deep into the lives of those who make us great. Thanks.
So when you got caught on fire,